Looks like we're live. Tom Panos, Phil Tarrant, Real Estate Exposed, Thursday, lunchtime. Hope you're well. Trying to navigate this COVID lockdown, and I've just been tuning into the television, trying to get the update for the day. Numbers aren't going south in New South Wales, and it's spiking in other areas, in particular Melbourne. And Tom, newsflash, for the first time in a year, restrictions in Canberra, snap lockdown for 7 days. Their rhetoric is always, should their case rear its head, lockdown hard early. So 7 days, mate. Canberra, pretty much the same restrictions as what we're seeing here in New South Wales. What crazy times we live in.
Yeah, so hi to everyone that's coming on, by the way. Sean, we've got our Facebook and our LinkedIn people, also YouTube, Periscope. So Phil, yeah, I wasn't aware of it. You've told me at the start of the program. I've actually, in the meantime, put a call in to Stan Pilatus. Actually, as I'm speaking to you, I thought that was him. It was John McGrath. John McGrath sent me a video before, and he's just said, I know. John McGrath sent me a video, and we'll get on to proper things in a second. Hello, Ash. Hi, Anthony. Hey, Makesh, Sean, everyone. Anthony, good to see you all. McGrath sent me a video, and the video is from Gary Vaynerchuk, Phil. And what it is this. Gary Vaynerchuk says, so you're 54, right? And John knows I'm 54. So he sent me this video, and he says, so you're 54, and you're sitting there, and you're thinking to yourself, you've lived your life, and you're looking at your kids, and you're saying to yourself, man, these are the regrets I should have done. And now you're trying to live your life through them. Well, I got good news for you. You've got another 30 years to go. You've got another 30 years to go, and you got the advantage of those 54 years of learning. Do you realize you've got more of your adult life left than you've lived? And it's a really, strong impacting video. And I just said to John, mate, I'm 54. And he said, that's why I sent it to you. Anyway, Phil.
Tom, mate, before we move on, I quite like that, because you sort of sit there and you think about your age, but the first 20 years, or 18, but I think most of us are kids at least until we're 20. Can I just take part of your adult life?
Guys, Stan, you're on, Stan. You're on live on a live stream. I've got you on a microphone with REB that we do our show every week, and we wanted to get from the ground. We wanted to get someone from the ground to tell us in Canberra.
Well, it was just interesting you said that, Tom. As I started my first ever live Facebook feed, you rang. I thought either I'm doing something wrong, but yes, I can confirm. I've just finished my live feed, but I can confirm all ACT Real Estate Services restrictions have now been confirmed. So real estate and auction houses were in lockdown for 7 days from 5 p.m. today.
Okay, now can I confirm this is the ACT, and Stan, can I ask you, what does this mean for a real estate agent? Can they show a buyer a property?
Okay, so real estate is just been advised a few moments ago, in ACT, real estate is not an essential service, so we cannot do in-person inspections or auctions. So we can only do online inspections are permitted, and online auctions are permitted.
And what about listing presentations? Obviously, you can't do those either.
We can do those online.
You can do those online.
Nothing in person. There's no in-person inspections or contact permitted for the next 7 days.
All righty. Listen, we're going to get on with this show. I'm going to call you afterwards, but thank you. That's come straight, by the way.
Tom, can we use those as quotes?
Before you go, Stan, there's a question. Hang on.
Stan, can we use them as quotes from you for REB? We're getting this information out as we speak.
Yeah, look, I've just finished with I'm obviously on the board of the Real Estate Institute. I've just finished with the Real Estate Institute. We've just finished the government. That's just come out. The email was sent to me from the Real Estate Institute at 1:28 p.m. So not long ago. Fresh.
Well, you get, Stan, can they quote you as well?
Absolutely.
All righty, Stan. Well done. Look on the bright side. Look on the bright side. Did Canberra win last week in the footy?
Tonight, 7:50, playing the Melbourne Storm. For all your money on it.
Oh, wow. What a game. The two parts of Australia that are in lockdown that can't show properties and they can't actually do listing presentations. The strictest lockdowns in all of Australia. Get onto your Foxtel or Channel 9 and watch the two teams, because I've got to tell you, you're not going to be having a face-to-face vendor meeting. Anyway, Stan, let's leave it at that.
Give me a call later on.
Thank you. So, Phil, it's always good. I love, isn't it great, the immediacy of being able to actually produce stuff, even though it's not as, nice as a TV studio, but the fact that we can get information, the guys there on the board of the REI, and the news is not good if you're an agent, because in New South Wales, Phil, let's be clear, you can do in-person inspections, you can do listing presentations, you can't do on-site auctions, but you can do Zoom or any of the platform auctions. But in Melbourne, you can't do inspections, whether it's a listing or a private inspection. So there's a little bit of disparity around the country as to what real estate agents can do.
Yeah, absolutely, and it's different rules for. I remember I had a chat with the president of the Real Estate Association of Australia, and she sort of pointed up to a thing on the wall. It was the first ever, what do you want to call it, the goals or objectives, 100 years old. And it pretty much said, number one, motherhood principle, universal regulation for real estate in Australia. So no disparity between the states. 100 years on, mate, guess what? It's all still a federation of states. Everyone's got their own rules, real estate in particular. I wish they got some sort of universal regulation for real estate in Australia. I think it'd make everyone's life easier. But to your point, Tom, there we go. So we're just giving our viewers a bit of an inside look, or listeners into an inside look into how the media works. Stan had that meeting literally. He just got off the phone from a statement out of the Real Estate Institute in the ACT, who have probably just got the information from the government. Mate, we're 10 minutes behind in terms of understanding what's happening. And now, here we are talking about it live on air as it happens. And then, a real estate business news flash will be landing in everyone's inbox with quotes from someone close to the source that knows what's going on as it happens. That's journalism in action, mate.
Yeah. Now, Phil, I'm bringing up the first heading, and you wanted to discuss this subject because I presume you're going through it. I presume your clients are going through it. I presume you're hearing chatter about it. I mean, I certainly know that I'm in that category. I seem to be doing a lot of stuff that is less dollar productive, but still needs to get done. You're constantly rescheduling things. And as I said to you, we've got to, as I said to you off camera, so we get a phone call that my daughter had to do her musical HSC cello piece today because the Inner West was going to go in lockdown. And, I just always thought, she's getting ready for her HSC later on this year, but we've had to move quickly to overcome the lockdown rules. We now get used to doing things, in a split second. But Phil, what's happened, I think, is, and agents are telling me, I got off the phone talking to Mark Sullivan from Harcourts at Greenacre, and he said to me, mate, he goes, he goes, there's work there. He goes, don't get me wrong, there's work there, but you're grinding. What used to be, you'd get 30 people through in a property in an hour. You go back there maybe 6-7 times, and people cancel their 10-minute slot, and then you're on the phone ringing up, where are you? The other person's here now. You can't be in the property at the same time, right? You got vendors that say, I'm not showing up there. I'm not going to Canterbury Bankstown to sign the contract. COVID's there. So I was faced with that. The vendor wouldn't go sign a contract on Saturday, so the property got sold. We said, let's DocuSign it. She's an older lady. She goes, what's that? And, so it's all this stuff. Yeah, how are you finding it, Phil?
Well, exactly as you said, Tom, and there's two components to this. It's getting the job done that's in front of you. As you know, we're probably one of the largest sort of events organisations for business events in Australia. We had a huge schedule of events for this first half of the financial year, 40 of them, call it, right across Australia. We had our plans in place. We planned these 9 months ago on the basis of how we were proceeding. And that's all been thrown on its head. Only yesterday, I was on a 4-hour call just trying to recalibrate some of this stuff. So at the end of the day, the same amount of money is going to be coming in the door that we've got to do 3, 4, 5 times the work in order to achieve it. Now, That's okay, and that's the reality of operating in business. It's about being fluid and nimble and all that sort of stuff. But the impact is, same applies to real estate agents. What about the 6 and 12 months into the future that we should be planning for right now, which we can't do? You've got all these agents who are hustling hard to move properties, and the real estate markets are good, and that's and it's advantage for everyone. But if they're spending so long trying to sell the properties they've got right now, they're not securing the listings of tomorrow. So what happens in 3-4 months' time? No dollars coming in the door. Big issue.
Yeah, and I've got to say, I'm putting it out there, and I want to listen. By the way, I want to get this out of the way because I've had a few emails come to me from people saying, "Oh, why am I so pro-vaccine?" Hey, listen, let me get this off my chest once and for all. I don't care whether people get vaccinated or not. I don't care the decisions that people make privately. That's their business. I simply have said on camera, and I stick by it, that people that are in real estate that are unvaccinated might be having vendors saying, we don't want you coming to our house unless we can have assurances. This is not, an opinion. This is a fact that you're going to have to learn to live with. And guess what? There are a lot of real estate agents that don't have to worry about it because they've got enough business where they'll turn around and say, you know what? I can live with that. But there are other real estate agents who I've got to say are looking at every possible competitive advantage in the marketplace. They don't want to they don't want to create any barriers for them, and it's things that you're going to have to become aware of. But the issue, Phil, for me, I had a mental blank. I was about to talk about another subject, and I digressed there. What were we talking about just before I got onto that?
It's just working harder for less money.
Yeah, listen, working harder for less money right now is the way life is. It's just the fact of life. You're going to work a lot harder for it, but I've got to tell you, Phil, you have your high seasons and you have your low seasons, right? And the way I look at it is winters become springs and dark nights become sunny mornings. And, I've had my own fair share. I've had years where they've been great seasons, and then I've had seasons where, they've been 9-month stints in chemo wards, right? But what you do is the whole time you don't sit there and say, well, this is permanent. And Phil, I reckon that's one of the problems people do. They turn around and they take an event and they say, this is permanent. Life won't get better. It's not ever changing. And permanence, I think it's very much a Buddhist philosophy, right? Buddhists basically say that everything keeps changing. So let go of being attached to things, because whatever you're attached to ain't staying that way. If it's good, it ain't staying that good. If it's bad, it ain't staying that bad. So just don't get attached to it. But Phil, your business, mate, I've got to say to you, I mean, you probably would be the biggest events business in Australia, because with all the communities that you service, real estate's just one of those. You've got a very, very big interest in, the legal fraternity, the finance world, military, the list goes on. And you provide events for everything, right? And I'm just thinking to yourself, I mean, I had one event, the one that McGrath and I were doing called Mastery, which we've delayed now 1 time, 2 times, 3 times, right? We've delayed it 3 times, right? That's one event. Man, you guys have got, would it be fair to say hundreds of events?
Oh, mate, we do a lot. I wouldn't say hundreds, but we do, probably 70 to 80 major events every year. Like, this is like big events, and which what we're really good at. And no doubt you've got some Tom Panosism for what I'm about to say, and I'll get you to crystallize it for me. But we're probably the most experienced events company who's operated through COVID-19. Now, the reason why I say that, and there is a context here for real estate agents, absolutely, is that because there's 2 parts to our events business, Tom. It's the events that we own and run, which are based with our communities, which you just mentioned. And about 3 years ago, we said, 2 years ago, we've been asked for years, who does your events, Phil? Who does your events? You say, we do it. And then, companies, whether they're big banks or financial institutions, wherever they are, go, I know, but there must be an events company that does it for you. We say, no, we do it all in-house. And they go, wow. And they go, can you do our events for us? We currently use this company over here. And we've always gone, nah, we're concentrating on what we're doing it very, very well. About sort of 2 years ago, we went, you know what? Let's start offering this as a service. And this is a rapidly accelerating part of our business, off the charts, mate. But COVID-19, because we own so many events and we run them versus we do them for other people as a primary, what it means is we're now the most experienced company in events operating through a COVID environment. We've seen absolutely everything. So most companies, if they're a professional conference organizer who organize events for large companies, most large companies went, we're not doing events. So most of those, and by the way, I'll give you some sense for it. The events industry in Australia is worth about $43 billion a year. It's massive. Yeah. It's huge with a B. It is one of the biggest industries that no one knows about. And it's probably been one of the most impacted. Everyone talks about aviation, but the events sector is huge. More people have lost their jobs in events than what there is the total size of the Australian Defence Force. You don't hear about it.
Yeah,
that's extraordinary, Tom. Extraordinary. Extraordinary. It's crazy stuff. But what it means is that we're so experienced now of operating in this environment that it's turned into an advantage for us that no one else has. So you've got to do the hard stuff to see some of your Buddhist philosophies and principles, the good stuff at the end of it.
So as they say, Phil, some of the best gifts in life come badly wrapped. It sounds shit now. It sounds disruptive. It sounds chaotic. It sounds like there's no order. But it's in this adversity. It's in this chaos. It's in this unpredictable environment that you're actually learning to shape what works, because you're getting the data that's coming into you very quickly and you're saying, quick, tweak this. With this in mind, I want to ask you, do you see the events, the Anthony Robbins, 10,000 people, the ARICS, the 4,000 people, the events that you do, Better Business, 1,000 people, right? Or whatever the numbers were, right? Do you see those events going back to the way they used to be? Do you have a view on it? Do you think it'll be a hybrid approach? Do you think speakers will keep getting paid big fees and come in from overseas? Do you think they'll say, no, you appear on a Zoom screen? What's your view on that?
I'll tell you the view. I just think you could do me a favour beforehand. Could you just send me through Stan's contact details? Grace Ormsby, our news editor, wants to give him a quick call, if that's okay. She's working on a big piece for our Canberra agents as we speak. So, Grace, I know you're tuning into this. Stand by; it's on the way. This is journalism and news in action, and the way it works. To your point, Tom.
I'll do is I'll just type that in the comments for you. And as you're watching, who called? I actually saw. What's your journo's name?
It'd be Grace Ormsby.
Grace, hi, if you're watching. I saw you and we said hi to each other on the Bay Run the other day in the afternoon. So there we go. That's Stan's number there, right? I've just put it under my comments there. You can give him a ring there. Look at that. I type something and it goes on YouTube, goes on LinkedIn, goes on Facebook. By the way, anyone looking for a good real estate agent, that's his number there, Stan. Give him a bit of publicity. But what do you reckon, Phil? What are we going to do? Am I going to still get paid big bucks to do a talk at a conference?
Oh, not with us, mate. We've found better people these days. You're a bit of a has-been. So
yes. Fading.
No, mate, we want you back. Mate, we want you back. Look, and this goes back to this point I was making, that we're seeing a wholesale shift in the way the world works as a result of COVID-19. Let's put aside the health issues and complications and everything around it. I'm talking about physical health and mental health and stuff. We'll park that for the moment. But COVID, and we're going to talk about COVID clarity. This might be a nice segue for us, Tom. COVID has been an enabler for transitioning the way in which we're going to operate as business people. And that applies also in events. And I must admit, and I think back my own journey through COVID clarity, and I've nicked this a couple of times, Tom, if you don't mind, when I'm chatting to people, COVID clarity. But I had a particular way I viewed the world pre-COVID about my expectations about what the workplace should look like, as a business leader, how I'd like my teams operating and behaving and stuff. And I've largely, the baseline philosophy of how they see the world hasn't changed whatsoever, around transparency and ethics and all that sort of stuff. But the how you get about going about doing what you're doing today. And I fully embrace, and I like the idea of a distributed hybrid workforce. Our team are happier, they're more engaged than ever before. It's a great working environment. And then I sit there and think, okay, how do you capitalize on that for the purpose of business? But within the event space, Tom, which is what we're talking about, COVID is going to be such an enabler, hugely disruptive at the moment. We've gone through that. But when life goes back to whatever normal looks like, what's going to happen, one of the hangovers of COVID is going to be this hybrid working environment, and people will embrace that. So the point being is that people are going to be largely more isolated moving forward, us as a business and a lot of other organizations keep an eye on it, the way they're approaching it. And the same will apply to real estate. Hybrid environments where you do work from home or work from wherever you want to work from, and then your more activity-based working will happen inside the office, and you might be in a couple of days a week, you might come in every month or whatever it is. But what it means is that when it's opportunities for humans to get together, i.e. via events are going to explode. In-person, face-to-face events are going to explode because that is where the interaction is going to take place. That is going to be the mechanism for supporting the coming together of communities and people, like, you know, working with colleagues or friends or whatever it is, right? So some organizations moving forward, your annual conference at the end of the year or the middle of the year might be the only time you see your teammates for the whole year.
That's a profound observation. That's a profound observation.
For you, it's good. I reckon your phone's going to run hot for real estate and other professional sectors, because they're going to want people who are good at doing what you do, and that is the content, but also the theatre and everything that goes around it. So having a good chat with Vince Sorrenti, who you know, we use him a lot for MC for a lot of our events. He completely subscribes to this same thing. Hard right now. Like he's getting gigs cancelled, but he has the same baseline philosophy that I do. That is, when we get to the back of this, humans want to connect. The more you stay at the home, the more you're isolated, the more you get your Uber Eats, the more you find the reasons why not to leave your house. When you get an opportunity to connect with professional colleagues, teammates, whatever, at an event, at a party, at a award ceremony, whatever, off the charts moving forward.
All righty, Phil, I want to come on to, so COVID clarity, man, when I use to everyone that's in real estate watching this, I want to let you know what COVID clarity means to you as a real estate agent is. Your clients, listen to me carefully. In your database, it says that they're not moving till 2024. But COVID clarity says the game's changed. There's a reset button. During the periods of lockdown, people start to actually examine how they relate to the property that they own. They also start relating to the community that they live in. There are plenty of people that have decided that they're going to move to Byron Bay. Example, the guy that decided to do that 2 days ago using, which it's not a smart thing to do, even though you are allowed to go to regional Australia and look at real estate. It's best to do it if you're actually healthy and made sure you're healthy, or otherwise it can be a bit disruptive for the community that you actually go to. And actually, the more I think about it, you probably shouldn't buy in Byron Bay now, because I don't think there'll be heaps going to the housewarming party. But anyway, put that aside. What I want to go on about, Phil, is COVID clarity says this. I need a bigger house. I need a Zoom room. I need a swimming pool. Or I want to get out of this property and I want to move to the country. I want to move towards the beach. I want to have a seed change. I want to split up. There's a big separations left, right, and centre happening because of COVID-19. So all I'm saying that right now you can't sit there and work off the old timeline of your database, but also I want to talk to you about this, Phil, and this is a big topic. You know, you wanted to talk about from click to brick, from brick to click, right? And I think what you were alluding to me off camera in the email you sent is this move towards industrial property being a very important commodity, because the way that we're living, stuff has to be stored somewhere to be sent to people's houses. Is that what you were referring to, Phil?
Yeah, I think it's going to be, and for all agents, if you're not across this, you need to be really dialed into it. Again, the way in which we are going to live as a result of COVID, expanding on what I sort of said beforehand. Well, what it means is that, mate, I'm seeing it arriving at my house every other day, boxes and boxes of stuff, right? Online shopping. And the expectation now for how people receive goods is that if you buy it today, you want it arriving at your house that day or the next day, right? So what does that mean? Just in time. It means that stuff needs to be close. So Knight Frank, which is a big real estate organization most people will be familiar with, reckon we're going into a golden era of industrial property in Australia as a result of COVID-19. So we're talking about warehouses and other e-commerce, logistics orientated real estate assets, which are going to boom at the moment. There's a whole bunch of people investing a lot of money in this right now. Greenfield sites, calibrating current industrial areas, off the charts, mate. And I know you like commercial property. Tom, you look at commercial. We chat about it a fair bit. I do a commercial property podcast called Inside Commercial Property with Scott O'Neill, who you also know. We've spoken a lot about industrial, but this report that came out, I think it was yesterday, it just rubber stamps everything that we see going on right now. The rise of e-commerce. What does e-commerce mean? You're still buying tangible goods, and they've got to come from someone, and they've got to come from somewhere. Someone needs to pick it up. So it's hot at the moment. Industrial will be over time. What does it mean for residential real estate agents? Tom, is the question. And are you going to see more people maybe transitioning into the commercial space?
I think so, Phil. Listen, commercial real estate at the moment, I find it extremely intriguing because what it does is commercial real estate really reflects the behaviours and the way business is operating. So, example, service stations have gone off the charts. You know, they're getting returns have dropped to 3.5. Why? Because there wasn't a servo that closed down during any lockdown period. They're considered as super essential services. Childcare. While everything else is in lockdown, people are still taking their kids to childcare, right? That's off the charts, right? Then you have a look at industrial property. That's been going crazy. But then you look at office space, right? Hasn't been going as hot, right? Because it's reflecting what's been going on with the behaviour of people. And I'm going to follow this industrial real estate because, you know, industrial real estate, and I have spoke to Scott O'Neill a number of times, he's very bullish about industrial property, particularly in Brisbane, right? Particularly in Brisbane. And I just think that we've moved to an environment now where, as I've said to you before, it's a little bit like everyone's been on a plane. They get off a plane, some through economy, some were in business class, some were in first class, and all of a sudden, everyone's sitting in a bus, taking them from the airplane to the terminal, and they're all sitting together, and they're basically saying, the rules have changed. Like, we know that you were doing that back then, and that's why you sat in first class. But guess what? You're all the same. Let's see how you adapt now. Let's see, how do you create value? How do you interpret what's going on? And how do you start solving problems? Because I've got to tell you, Phil, the one thing that hasn't changed is the person who solves the most problems has the best businesses. End of story.
Yeah, but to use that same analogy, Tom, if you're looking to invest in commercial real estate, there's a lot of first-class flyers out there at the moment who have big checks and no debt, and they're looking for better returns than keeping in other asset classes. So, you know, if you want to operate inside real estate at the moment, commercial real estate in particular, and you're an economy class passenger, not a lot of good stuff out there, mate. It's all getting swallowed up. And even if you move up into your business class type assets, big cash buyers. So good luck finding good assets.
Man, Phil, this is the paradox of the world we live in. There is so much money around. Phil, there is so much money around. Last night, I pick up some fish and chips from Ocean Seafoods, and anyway, Dr. Karen Chan's going to be upset because she says, don't speak to anyone. I do speak to someone as I'm leaving from the fish shop to my car, and it's a guy that's head of AMG, and he says to me, there have never been so many people looking to buy prestige cars. Never. We can't get them. He's saying we can't get them, right? They've got the real estate problem now. They can't get the listings, right? They've got buyers lining up, which is incredible, Phil, because, you know, we're in a pandemic, right? We're in a time where people are saying, hey, we can't eat. Our business is going down. I've closed it. I can't live off $700. But on the other hand, you got buyers lining up to buy industrial property for $20 million. You've got properties that are selling for 200, 300, 400, 500 over reserve. You've got the equities market that's breaking a record every day. Man, it is so confusing. And then you've got the occasional person that sits there and says, be careful, it's all about to collapse.
Mate, it's what is it, a bizarro world? Remember, I don't know if you're a fan of this sort of bizarro. It is a Seinfeld episode. But it is, you know what? I bought a new car last year earlier this year. And I had to wait sort of 4 months for it. And to be fair, I got a really good price on it. It's not like the prestige vehicle that most real estate agents buy. It's a prestige vehicle that sort of a Phil Tarrant type bloke would buy. Had to wait for it, but mate, I could sell it today for probably $20,000 to $30,000 more than I paid for it. There's something wrong with that. There's something wrong with that. Where it used to be the car salesman to be on his knees trying to persuade you to buy something. This time around, they're like going, the guy said to me, I'm getting in trouble off my manager by selling this to you for so cheap. I sort of through a network type thing. And I could have just listed it straight away and sold it for a lot more. Like, they're supposed to depreciate 20% as soon as you drive them off the lot, not appreciate. Something wrong with that, mate.
Yeah. Well, Phil, on that note, all I'm going to say to you is that you just got to play the ball. You've got to play the ball. You've got to, wake up each day and sort of say, okay, what are the rules today? How's the score work? Where's the goal, right? And to all our viewers and listeners that pick this up on either your podcast or on the social media platforms that they watch their preferred social media platforms, Phil, I still swear by the three non-negotiables. I want everyone to know and Mark Burris said it on Sunday.
How'd you go with that, mate? You didn't tell me. Has it gone out yet? You caught up with him the other day?
Yes, we did it. We did it live. We actually went. We did it live, and we went for. It was a bit like this. I said, listen, let's have a conversation and just pretend that no one's watching, right? And we just have a chat and a catch up, right? And that's what we did. And he just said, the most important things is, to be careful that you don't fall on that. We spoke a little bit about politics, and he said there have been a few defining moments in this. One of the defining moments was the, not going hard in that first few days in the eastern suburbs, right? Right. That obviously was a defining moment. The other thing that was spoken about, and it's a very good point, Phil, is John Hartigan was the CEO at News Corp. And I'll never forget, he pulled me aside one day out of a meeting and he said, Tom, never be definitive unless you're 3,000,000% certain. And he said, and the reason why is that you're putting yourself in a corner that will stop you making a right decision because you want to stay aligned to the view that you've had now. And if you think about Gladys Berejiklian, she kept on saying, we can still run this state without having lockdowns. And that was her narrative, sort of saying to the guy.
Yeah, we spoke about that same thing last week, mate.
What's that?
We spoke about this last week. She told us a year ago that, don't worry, New South Wales or Sydney, even though as bad as it gets, we're going to be able to still run the economy here as we're doing right now. It will never happen. She must have been 3,000% certain.
Well, I think the issue is that would have played on her mind during the eastern suburbs, because she would have sat there and said, hey, let's give it another day. Let's give it another day because I don't want to sound like a hypocrite here, right? Let's give it another day. But the genie went out of the bottle. And to be quite honest with you, it appears with the cases, we're talking about Sydney, New South Wales now, Sydney, the cases in Sydney, one would suggest getting the genie back in the bottle is not going to be something that's going to happen before the end of August.
Oh, no way in the world. It was like, 300 and mid 300 cases today. It seems to stabilise at least a little bit. I see the Hunter regions, they're going to extend the lockdown for another period of time. There's, It's in a community out into the west, out into the regional areas. Not good. Look, it's calibrating a little bit. It still comes down to, Tom, there is a huge disconnect between what the government is saying here in New South Wales and what people's behaviours are in particular parts of Sydney. And there's a lot of reasons for that. But it is a challenge. I think, the problem that the government's going to have on this same logic of saying, make sure you are 300% certain of your position. The position now is everyone get vaccinated. And once you're vaccinated, let's get political. Once you get vaccinated, 70 to 80% of vaccinations in New South Wales will open everything up, right? But they're not saying we'll open everything up and expect that people are going to be getting COVID still, and expect that the case numbers are still going to be reasonably high, and expect that people are still going to die as a result of COVID-19. They're saying this first bit, go and get vaccinated. That's the only way out. That's the way out of this. Well, the way out of this, we're going to be talking about the realities of what the way out is, and it's the expectation that everyone needs to live with the virus. We need to strive towards this idea of herd immunity. It's going to be in the community. It can't be everyone get vaccinated, and once we're vaccinated, oh, yeah, but we're just going to keep everything locked down now to try and eradicate the virus. Can't do both. That's going to be the biggest problem. Here we are talking in August of 2021. Tom, I reckon fast forward to the middle of October, late October, when these vaccination rates per the modelling are up where they should be, whether that government rhetoric has changed.
Well, I'm going to put it out here, and this is against John Hartigan's advice. I'm putting it out there, and it's going on record. Call me an eternal optimist. Call me someone that's actually sat down there and read the latest data. Phil, I think by around December, we're going to have a life that is far more closer to the life that we had pre-COVID than the life that we've got now. I still think there's going to be a few things there lingering in, and there might be a few restrictions on whether you're dancing on a dance floor and whether every person in the country is allowed to go to every country. They're sure there'll be subsets and categories of people that can do it. But I actually think you'll be going to the footy, you'll be going to the cricket, you'll be going to Noosa, you'll be sitting having schooners at the pub, I think by December.
Well, I hope so, because our planning for a lot of our events, Tom, the way we're doing it, we have contingencies, obviously, but we're backing the fact that we should be able to start. We'll be doing in-person events in December. We have some very large programs that we've got slated for that period of time. So, plan for the worst and hope for the best. We're definitely hoping that we can do these programs in person, but should that not happen, we'll absolutely maintain continuity of all of our programs to make sure that our communities get the recognition and the education they need. So it would just be done slightly different. But, I was reading a piece the other day, Tom, and no doubt you've got some way to frame this better than I can. I've got to go to the Tom Panos school of how to turn ideas into, I don't know if they're soliloquies or there's something else. They're trust or something or other.
Thinking pictures.
Thinking pictures.
Okay. Yeah, because what happens is when you example, you can turn around and say to someone, hey, just be careful about, where you hang out. You just say, if you hang around slippery spots, you'll slip. Whenever you can actually say something that creates an imagery of the thing, it actually is a little bit more impactful.
Is this something you've learned, Tom, or is that just something innate?
I think when I was at uni, I clearly remember there was one subject at uni where it talked about, metaphors, storytelling, and the way that people can actually make decisions based on information and data and facts. And whilst they are important, nothing is more important than an emotional driver that is driven by a narrative, right? So I've always thought to myself, emotions are far more important than facts. And that's why we say stories sell, but facts tell. Be a good storyteller.
There we go. Anyway, coaching in action. The point was, there was one of the 10 traits of highly effective people. I'll send the article over to you, Tom. But one of them was this pragmatism or structural optimism that's built into highly successful people. And it was such a key thing that said those people who are successful, high performing, all the stuff that most people want to be. They don't need to coach or train or mentally intervene on their thought process when it comes to optimism. They don't need to think, oh, I'm thinking negatively, but I'll be an optimist about it. They just don't go that way. It's just built-in optimism that irrespective of what's going on, irrespective of what's happening, change is a good thing, embrace it and get on with it. And they're already thinking how they go about doing that. So that's what you've got built into you, mate. You're a perpetual optimist.
Yeah, well, I've got to tell you, and there's Michael, one of our great real estate gym members, giving a bit of a brand name up there. Listen, Phil, I have to say to you, I actually think people are predisposed to a certain degree, but there's clear academic research out there by Martin Seligman, who is probably the architect of positive psychology from 40 years ago. He's an academic from Canada who wrote a book, Learned Optimism. Very good book. And I suggest everyone that's listening or watching this, read that book, Learned Optimism, which essentially says we have all got a genetic predisposition to a baseline score, but you can actually shift that. You can actually shift it by consciously having the intent to look at what's possible versus what's probable, and to go off and find evidence to support the view and belief you want to have, right? So, for instance, I make it my business. You know, I mean, if I ever sat there in a hospital waiting room, waiting for my appointment, and I got talking with someone and I found out that they had been in remission for 15 years, mate, I drop everything. I drop my mobile phone. I'm tuned into this person because I know that 10 minutes that I spend with that person becomes a rubber stamp in my brain that goes with me everywhere. It goes when I leave the hospital. It goes with me when I go to my auction. It goes with me when I go to the bay run. It goes with me when I go to my work. The problem is your brain goes with you everywhere you go. So I wanted to make sure that I'd be able to go and take this information, and I'd see, and I'll never forget it. There was a guy there, he worked in service departments, and he'd had a stem cell transplant, and he'd been told he was incurable. And here he was 15 years later in the waiting room at RPA Lifehouse. He looked like Craig Cooper, one of the Cooper, not Craig Cooper. Anyway, Cooper of St. George Centre, I remember, and he was just ripped. And he just said, you know, the minute I got the clean remission, I said, I'm going to become the healthiest person I can. And he says, I've become a triathlon, I swim, I play water polo, I work out. He just went on and on and on. So what's the point, Phil? The point is this. Reach out, everyone. I'm getting pumped up and excited now because I'm thinking about it. Reach out, Phil. You've got to reach out for positivity. You've got to reach out for it, because the truth is, whether it's Alan Jones or whether it's, you know, any form of media, when it comes to you, generally speaking, it's not positive. But the positive stuff, you've got to smash everything out of the way and reach out for it yourself. It requires conscious effort. It requires intent, and it requires effort. So the truth is, being a positive person, yes, your parents, your genes have got a bit to do with it, but I can tell you, you can flick the switch a bit.
Absolutely, Tom. That's good. Got to find positivity. You get to make the choice, mate, when you wake up every single day, how you want to see the world.
100%. And on that note, Phil, great catching up with you again. By the way, everyone, the REB and Tom Panos, a partnership together. I do the training, I do the coaching. REB reports on the news every morning, pick up their piece by around 8:30, 9 o'clock, 5-10 minute read. You've picked up what you need to know. In fact, I would go as far as saying, if you're someone that's a real estate agent, you could pretty get by not doing anything else but spending 5 or 10 minutes every morning reading REB. Man, it's going to give you what you need to know. It's going to let you know whether Canberra's in lockdown. The truth is, even if you've been asleep for the last 5 hours, if you read REB and your story, which I'm pretty sure will be out as a news flash in the next hour or so, because I know what your team's like. I get a lot of those news flashes during the day. We'll know what you can and can't do in Canberra. No need to look at the news every minute of the day. Anyway, Phil,
That's
stay
good.
well.
By the way, Tom's not on the payroll. Thanks for the plug, mate. I'll put that into a media kit if you don't mind.
I'm not on the payroll, mate. That's mate. Put it in the media kit, because I tell you what, I'm only telling people what I do myself. That's what I
Good,
do.
mate.
I do a quick snapshot. I have a quick read of it, and then I'm a bit of a handyman all day. When I'm talking to people, I can actually say things to them. Oh, this, yeah. Did you hear about that? Did you hear about that? I think you've got to be good at that. Anyway, Philly,
You do, mate.
let's do that. Thank you.
See you, Tom. Good one, mate. See you, everyone.
Thanks. See you, everyone.